When he can get some money out of it.
Yeah, listen, let's turn to our top stories this week, and we're going to talk about Venezuela and the drumbeat of war as the Trump administration continues to threaten the South American country. And in a way, we're going to continue with a British angle of all things. We are just talking about the BBC, but a row with the Brits over a documentary edit is one thing, but this week we also learned the UK is suspending intelligence sharing with the US
Oh, yeah.
military over concerns regarding the legality of American strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. The United Kingdom believes, and rightly so, that these attacks are illegal under international law, and they don't want their people to wind up in The Hague over it. Now, meanwhile, Trump said he's sort of made up his mind on Venezuela after the military and senior staff gathered at the White House for at least 3 days of planning this week. It was reported that self-proclaimed Secretary of War Drinky Pete Hegseth and other defense officials presented the president with options for potential operations in Venezuela in the coming days, including strikes on land. Along these lines, the U.S. reopened a Puerto Rican naval base that has been shuttered for more than 20 years. Naval Station Roosevelt Roads had been closed since at least 2004, but has become home to 10 or more F-35 jets over the last couple months. And finally, on the Venezuela front, not directly related to the press for war, but a report this week by Human Rights Watch and Cristosal says more than 250 Venezuelan men sent by the Trump regime to El Salvador endured systematic torture, abuse, and sexual assault during their detention at the sprawling Sikot concentration camp. The men were freed in July in a deal with Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro that included the release of 10 Americans from Venezuelan custody. So let's talk, ladies, about the drumbeat of war with Venezuela. We're about 20 boat strikes deep at this point, having killed scores of men, none of whom have been convicted in any court of law for drug trafficking. Likewise with, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, again, not a good guy by any stretch. Deserves to be overthrown by his own people. But again, hasn't been convicted in any court of law as being a member of a cartel. So listen, I think we're all old enough to remember Iraq and the lead up to that. I remember in the lead up to the election, they were talking about Trump as some sort of peace president. What happened? What happened?
Well, what happened, I think, is he's always had an issue with Venezuela for whatever reason. I'm not even sure, but he's never been, for years and years, he's talked about Venezuela. But I also think that it serves him well.
All right. Who's giving me the echoes?
I don't know. Some little kind of war. Because then he can claim all kinds of wartime powers to do other things that he wants to do. He's looking for any and all reasons to be able to have war. First of all, make his Defense Department or whatever it's called now, buddies, happy. It will give him wartime powers because of whatever. The fact that Congress doesn't declare war seems to be irrelevant to him, and the Republicans in Congress certainly aren't standing up to him on anything else, so I'm not going to get all excited that they might do so now. And lastly, it's a very nice diversion for all that's really going on. That's look over here, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
I've definitely heard Wag the Dog mentioned multiple times this week, in regards to the Epstein files. Is this Venezuela thing a distraction from that? Tabitha, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I mean, let's just talk about the elephant in the room, right? Venezuela has a lot of oil. And when you mention Iraq, I was one of those students that, I was in university at that time when they decided that we're going over. and during that Afghanistan period. And I actually saw a lot of my classmates get sent to war, and I've seen a lot of them get brought back not okay, and certainly not the way that they were. It seems like the American public, a large portion of them, especially vets, might have voted for Trump because he said, we're not going to do that anymore. Um, so this is certainly a betrayal to our vets, but also um, it seems very clear to me that the main motivation would be to access that oil. And as we know, we've often put our hands in different people's pots, if you will, whenever we have a motivation to get something from their country. That's my spin on it.
Yeah, and Jennifer, they mention the Monroe Doctrine a lot in this administration. This is like going back to 1820, right? The fifth president of the United States, who basically declared that Latin America is the U.S.'s backyard. And while I remember growing up, it was framed as, hey, we're not going to tolerate any of that colonialism stuff around here. We support democracy. It's been, hey, this is our territory. Back off. Is this just a continuation of that, Jennifer? Well, I know you spent time recently in Puerto Rico. They're opening up new or old military bases there.
Yes. Actually, we were down there. I spent a good portion of my time there. My husband is Puerto Rican via Brooklyn, but his family lives there. And we actually just a couple months ago went down by some of the bases, and you could see oh gosh, I can't think of the word, the total brain fart, but yes, you could see it very active when it wasn't, before. You could
they're doing exercises there now.
Yeah, they're doing exercises. They're it's kind of cool to see. I mean, the community's not really used to having that much there, but I mean, also part of colonialism too, as you brought that up, just the presence in Puerto Rico, and such a wonderful country.
There's also
it seems. Go ahead, Dee.
I'd forgotten about this. There's also a pretty big conspiracy theory out there that says that some of these dictator types want to split up the world, and that Trump thinks that he gets Greenland south, and Putin gets over there, he gets Europe, and then China, they get Asia, and then everybody will be happy because the dictators will have their parts of the world and so forth. And then we get oil, we get rare earth, we get lots of good minerals and stuff. I know that's a conspiracy theory, but I don't know.
Well, I mean that seems to be the way authoritarians work, right? They like divide up the bounty for themselves. Nationalists can do nationalist shit together. And spheres of influence, right?
Let's not forget the fact that when we do start to have talks about war and putting bodies and boots on the ground, where they get those people. And Indiana would be a prime target for some of that because it's very rural. People don't have a lot of money. So of these large groups of people that voted for Trump and this anti-war movement, these are the same people that will be sent to these places. And I've actually heard myself some people that are veterans that are telling their own children, now's not a good time to sign up. And I think that's really telling, because from areas like Indiana, where you have multiple generations that have participated in some type of conflict, for these same people to be telling their children, look, now's not the time, that really, I think, hits at the bedrock of a lot of these issues, because we know where they're going to get these soldiers. And, we've already seen when the troops are being deployed, even if it's the National Guard, how they're being misused against the American people. Imagine how that is going to just traverse throughout the world. And I don't think the American people want that.
No. I think it's the same with just all of the policies that Trump has been making. It really hits his base, I think, the hardest. And I feel it's just really disturbing to see how people just don't don't get that. Although I think that more and more people are waking up to it. I mean, the things that have gone on in the last several weeks, it's like we're living in the twilight zone.
Yeah, it really is. You know, we talked about this Tuesday. I had a live stream. Derek Holder and Chuck Gill were with me. Blythe Potter stopped by for Veterans Day, and it is one of the things we talked about is how the military industrial complex uses scarcity to hoover up new recruits, right? And yeah, here they go. They're going to send you to Venezuela for the oil, or my God, they might send you to Chicago to fire on your own citizens if they keep things up at this rate.